Hello, I'm Chad Larson.
And I'm Barry Berg.
Welcome to Setting the Standard, Conversations with the Berg Larsen Group, a podcast where we discuss questions that are top of mind for upper bracket home buyers and sellers in the Twin Cities Metro. Welcome back. It's episode 4, part 2 of Plant the Two Ps, Pricing and Presentation. And you guessed it, we're talking about presentation today. So Barry, what do we need to know?
Well, there are so many things to know.
True.
But first and foremost, I'm going to say, and I say this all the time, less is more. When you are preparing your property for the market, understand that no one is looking to buy your personal property. They're looking and wanting to buy your home to make a home for themselves. So it's very critical how you present the property. I often say this, I've even said it in another one of these series, that the most important showing you'll have is to our photographer. Yep. So you've heard the term staging. When we use the term staging, more often than not, when we're dealing with people who've lived in their home for any reasonable period of time, it's a matter of decluttering, editing, and reducing the amount of excess in the property.
Yeah, we really want them to see your house for the beautiful hardwood floors, right? Us realtors, right? We always love gleaming hardwood floors. You've seen that in descriptions. And that really is indicative of what we want to show off, right? We want the beautiful archways. We want the beautiful countertops to be seen. But if we've got too much on a countertop, around, covering up the floors, bathroom rugs, all those kinds of things, and they can't see it. And then really the goal is for them to imagine themselves in what will hopefully be their home and no longer yours.
Well, and bear in mind that what really matters to them are the spaces in the home. And if you've got great architectural features and quality, you want to make sure that shows off. Even matters like your yard. Obviously, depends upon the season. If it's in the dead of winter, they're probably not going to spend a lot of time outside, but it's really important that they be able to see what is there and appreciate it. And I guess I can't stress enough the importance of doing what you can to neutralize decor. You've been living in the property, and there's nothing wrong with your having let each one of the kids paint his or her own bedroom. We've seen plenty of that. We also have seen plenty of teenage rooms that are wall-to-wall posters. That's not what the buyers are necessarily looking for.
Stickers on the doors, yeah. The LED light strips around the bedrooms these days, right? Yeah, and that's where I think you've probably heard me say this before, diligent speed, right? When you're preparing your home for the market, you really want to take the time to do the right things to get your home in as best condition as possible. So do you have to do all those things? No. But I like to use the example of if you're going to trade in your car, right? You've got this nice low mileage, slightly older vehicle. What are you going to do, right? When you're going to go trade it into the car dealer, you're going to take the fuzzy dice off. You're going to empty the trash out. You're going to get it washed and detailed. All those things that that they are going to give you the best value when you present it to the car dealer. And so your home, in that sense, is no different, right? You want to do all those things that you can do.
At the same time, bear in mind that anybody who makes an offer on the home will almost certainly include as part of their due diligence an inspection on the property. So very, very, very critical to try to identify and eliminate as many objections up front as possible. That's where it really can take some extra time getting your home ready for the market, but it's worth doing. Buyers are not looking for major projects. They're looking to be able to take your keys from closing, move in, and just enjoy that property.
They want to paint your purple wall their mauve.
Yes.
Right? So everyone has their own idea of what colors, what style, and so they're still going to fall in love with it, but with too many objections, that gets harder.
I guess I would also add that sometimes it's difficult for sellers to understand or appreciate fully the importance of being fully prepared when you go to the market, and that includes Preparing a seller's disclosure statement. Buyers are looking, if they're truly interested in your property, they're looking for information. And these days, and this is true, we sell lots of very expensive properties, upper bracket properties, but we're being asked about utility costs, insurance costs, landscaping costs, maintenance costs. So we actually need that information. It might seem like that is superfluous, but it's not superfluous to the buyer.
Yeah, the younger generation, right? They're becoming more conscious, budget conscious, and even at every price point. And they want to just know. They want to know what costs are involved in owning a home. And so yes, agreed, 100%. Having that information is really helpful. And you mentioned disclosure statements, and I think that's we often say it's a valuable sales tool, the seller's property disclosure statement. You get an opportunity to tell all the positive things you've done to your home, as well as create a narrative around the potential issues that your home might have. And so you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So that likewise, right, they've now been through your home, they've fallen in love with it, they're looking at the disclosure statement, and this is your chance to tell them all the things that aren't maybe quite as good or things that are older, right? And they're going to be more likely to overlook those things in the euphoria of having fallen in love with your home.
Absolutely. Never a better time for disclosure than up front when the buyer is excited about your property. They can probably accept, especially in Minnesota, it's tough to find a property if somebody's lived there long enough that hasn't had a little leakage somewhere, water leakage somewhere.
Or a mouse.
Or a mouse, exactly. Those things are not, you're not the only one who's ever had those issues. Disclose, disclose, disclose.
Well, especially too, right? Because when that inspector comes around and they find that mouse dropping or they find that little evidence of a leak, you might have taken care of it 20 years ago. You might have an active pest service. But if you didn't disclose it, then they're only left with wondering, what else haven't you told them? And that's not the place that you want to be in. You want to be in your best position possible, and that's through disclosure.
Right. I guess lastly, we would just acknowledge you want to do everything you can to make your home shine. Very, very, very important that you do. And when we say shine, we just mean you wouldn't have bought the house, presumably, if you weren't excited about it in the first place. But time passes. So you need to do what you can to help someone else fall in love with that property as well.
Perfect. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll be back for our next episode, the condo community. So Barry and I live in condos, so it'll be interesting we'll share our perspective.
Terrific.